Yo, so Trouble sucks ass, and I wanted to explore, first of all, if after the level cap increase, if Trouble could maybe, possibly, not suck ass, and I also wanted to figure out exactly why Trouble sucks ass. So, before I get into the build, I'm going to talk a little bit about Trouble. If you just want to go straight to the build, then here's a timestamp, just go right to this time, and yeah, there's also chapters down below, so you can see exactly when the skill breakdown starts. But until then, I'm gonna answer, well, really ask and then answer a couple questions about Trouble. So first of all, is Trouble good? And that's a simple question, and the answer is kind of not really. So when I played Trouble, I was actually a little bit pleasantly surprised. It was better than I expected. However, Trouble's damage is still not great, and this is speccing as much damage as possible, you know, with the most synergy that I could come up with. So there's probably better builds out there. I'm not the fucking smartest guy in the universe, but like, I think this build's pretty good. I think it's got a lot of synergies, it's got a lot of damage, and I'm not gonna lie, the damage was still mediocre. There's also a few things that make Trouble a little bit particularly difficult to work with, and that leads me into my next question. What makes Trouble bad? Yes, okay, what makes Trouble bad? Well, we'll start here with flying enemies. Now, at first I thought Trouble wouldn't even be able to hit flying enemies, but I was wrong. Trouble has like a ranged attack, and it's like an auto-targeted attack. It can't really miss, but it's a pretty slow projectile, and it does a little bit of damage. It's not great damage, but the fact that Trouble can hit at range is better than what I thought he could do. And this is without speccing into any ranged augments or abilities on Trouble at all, so that is really good to see. But generally speaking, he's still really bad against flying enemies. His damage is low, and the whole build together, the damage isn't terrible with flying enemies, but it's definitely not great, so that's something that I think I want to point out. Secondly, probably the worst thing of all about Trouble is you have no control. When you first activate your action skill, you get to pick where Trouble spawns. He kind of blows up and does damage, and you get to pick that, and that's great. But for the rest of his time, while the action skill's active, Trouble just does whatever the fuck he wants. He just wanders off, he's fucking saunters away. So if you're in a drill site and there's 3 bosses absolutely bum-fucking the shit out of you, there's nothing you can do if Trouble sees a measly little ripper hiding in the corner that he wants to go and fuck up. So, judging from the fact that a lot of our damage is on Trouble in this build, the fact that you have no control means that you can absolutely get railed from a boss, and if Trouble doesn't want to help you, well, I guess it sucks for you, because he won't. So that sucks. Yeah. Second of all, his damage is mediocre at best. Like, this is fully specced into all damage Trouble, and it's mediocre, like I said. If you don't perfectly spec it, I'm sure his damage feels underwhelming, to say the least. I'm sure it's poor. It's not great. Next, we're going to talk about one skill in the red tree called Sacrificial Essence. Now, this skill alone gives you 75% bonus damage dealt at max rank. When it's fully stacked, mind you. It is a kill skill. 75% bonus damage sounds really fucking good. And the only way to lose those stacks is by entering Fight for Your Life, or, here it is, dodging. Yes. You know that fantastic new movement mechanic that they introduced in Borderlands 4 that everyone loves? Well, guess what? Whoever designed this skill fucking hates fun. So they don't like you moving around at all. Bro, I'm telling you, when you're in fights and you try and keep this up, you feel like a cripple. It's so miserable to try and keep the stacks up on this thing. I don't know why they made it so that you lose stacks when you dash, because that shit sucks. I don't know why I don't think there's a world where that would ever be fun for anyone, for any character on any build, in any whatever, in any game. That sucks. Giving us movement mechanics and saying you can't use it if you want to prioritize damage is really, really, really upsetting and frustrating. It's not fun. I'll stop rambling about that, but we will get back to Sacrificial Essence, I'm sure, a little bit later. And then secondly, Trouble's not CC immune. Trouble is very susceptible to knockback, and this is particularly important when fighting certain bosses like Bloomreaper. If you spec into Trouble, Trouble will essentially do no damage to Bloomreaper, because whenever you get close to Bloomreaper to do damage, he does a knockback ability that knocks you away. That will send Trouble off the fucking map, he will despawn, and then you're fucked. So specking into Trouble for a Bloomreaper fight is essentially impossible. Yeah, so the CC on bosses is really frustrating to deal with as well when you are spec'd into Trouble. Okay, so how do you make Trouble better then? Alright, so first of all, you want to, I think there should be a targeting ability on Trouble. While your action skill is active, or while it's not active, whatever, while it's on cooldown, you should still be able to hit your action skill to make Trouble target the enemy that you've targeted, okay? So if you hit F on a boss when Trouble's fighting some Ripper in the back corner, Trouble will get off the Ripper and will go to the boss that you like fucking marked with your F ability or whatever that you targeted, or whatever your action skill is for those guys on console. Yeah, it will just target that person right away. That would help immensely with so many of Trouble's problems, okay? Next, CC immunity. Now, I don't think he should just be CC immune at all times, but there is an augment that we use that I think CC immunity would be great to add to. Or there should be some augment in the tree that lets Trouble be CC immune for a short duration of time. And I think that this creates skill expression for using Trouble. It means you have to be more of like a summoner who like is watching his minions and making sure that they have CC immunity at the right time. Like it gives you that kind of caster summoner vibe. And I think that that would be really cool and would also fix a lot of Trouble's issues when it comes to fighting bosses that do have CC. Yeah, that would be really nice. Second, sacrificial essence. Dodging should not get rid of the stacks. Just fucking get rid of that. Whoever did that fucking hates people and hates me in particular. And I hate you too. Because that's just miserable, bro. Why, bro? Why? It's like you have to go this skill to get somewhat reasonable damage using Trouble. So, it's really frustrating that it comes with this caveat of not being able to use movement. That is really, really sad to see, so please change that. That would be amazing. And then finally, probably the kicker on the bucket, just make his damage better, bro. Like, this build is fully spec'd into the damage. I don't know if I could squeeze another ounce of damage out of this build. That's a lie. There's probably a couple of ways. But still, this damage is still pretty spec'd, or this build is still pretty spec'd into damage. And the damage is fine. Like, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's mediocre, you know? Like I could get this damage by sneezing on Harlow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not worth... it's just not worth being in this tree for the damage that you have and for all the other headaches that Trouble brings you. So the damage needs to be good enough that it's justifying dealing with the other problems that Trouble comes with. Like, I think Trouble should be able to, like, I don't know, 8-shot a boss, you know, on true UVH 6. At some point with some, like, god tier build, you know what I mean? Like, I think there should be great synergies and great damage already on base Trouble so that he doesn't feel so bad to play, because at this point, there's no reason to go Trouble. If you want to go a minion spec build, then you're going to go for the Reapers or the Spectres. Like, you're going to go for those because they're just so much better in every way, and that makes me sad because I like having a spicy cat. Anyway, that's my rant about Trouble. Sorry about that. I know that was kind of long, but back to the build. Here we go. All right, Trouble Vex build. Now, I will be going over everything that I tested in this video. I know my videos, my builds can generally be a little longer, and this one will probably be no exception because I want to have everything I've learned while testing up until this point in the video, so I will be talking about all of that, all right? So with that, let's just get started with the green tree, because this is kind of core. All right. So we're doing a Trouble build, but it's going to be focused on kill skills. And a big reason why is because we have a kill skill in the red tree that's going to be a lot of the basis of our damage for Trouble. And I will be going over which skill that is after this. But this is generally the kill skill kind of core build. And it looks like this. So we're going in kill skills, so we're getting grave sights here. Now I did hear from someone who commented in one of my last videos that apparently critical hit damage is bonused in skills for some reason, so this is actually double or triple what it says, perhaps. If that is true, then that's great, but regardless, this is also just the best skill in this first tier, so it's the one that we're going to be going to, or going for, really. It's grave sights, giving us bonus critical hit damage. Next, we're going to go Bloodletter for the gun and skill crit bleeds. Next, we're going Grave Power. This one's the most important one. So this is really the basis of all kill skill builds on Vex. You increase your max kill skill stacks by 3. So this, at max stacks, will give you up to 15% for 3 stacks. Will give you 45% crit damage. But because the max stacks are increased by 3, it goes up to 6, meaning this goes up to 90%. Crit hit damage. And then if that thing is true, where the crit damage is amped from just from skills in general on different Vault Hunters, then this is a lot of crit damage on one skill because of its synergy with Grave Power. Now, Bloodletter, if you don't know, this, whenever you crit with a gun or a skill, it will apply a status effect bleed. This is a big part of Vex's damage in general in all of her builds. The next one we're going for is 2 points into target prescience. Now, I could go Grave Implements, and I've talked about this before. It gives a lot of gun damage for the points, specifically because we do spec into Grave Power, and we will have our kill skills active a lot of the time. But we have no gun damage spec'd in this build. Having a little bit isn't really going to help us that much. We would rather have the crit chance, because this will give us chances to proc our kill skills, and you'll see that coming up in a second. The next one we're going for is Keen Mind. This lets your skill damage get a chance to crit against any part of enemies. This is very, very important for proccing our kill skills, and how we do that is through Mortal Terror. Gives us a 5% chance at max rank to activate kill skills when critting an enemy. So the more chances we have to crit with our guns, like target prescience, and with our skills through Keen Mind, the more kill skills will be active. Now this skill crit chance interacts with a lot of other parts of our kit, and this is actually primarily how we will be critting, which is why the points into target prescience aren't as important. But having more chances to crit on anything is always good, because then that means more chances to keep our kill skills up, which we want. All right. Now going into the red part of the build. This is like the trouble side of the build. So the first thing we're going to spec into is enchantment. Now, I did try Blood is Magic to really maximize the damage with trouble, but when I was testing this on a dummy, this was actually less damage than if we went this skill. Now, mind you, I was shooting the dummy throughout these tests, but this was significantly less damage compared to getting enchantment. And enchantment does a couple of things. So first of all, when your action skill is active, you get bonus kinetic damage, and we do want to keep our action skill active at all times if possible. But this is actually a lot of damage. It's actually unexpectedly a lot more damage than you think. And another thing is that it interacts with Keen Mind. So it is a skill. Thus, it does get this skill crit chance and can proc Bloodletter. So a lot of our damage from our guns is actually coming from this and our class mod, which I will get to in the gear section of the video. But a lot of our damage is coming from this, and it's a lot more damage than if we went this. Trouble doesn't do a lot more damage with this. Honestly, this kind of seemed a little bit bugged. I didn't see a lot of bonus damage at all, so I don't know what's going on there, but I do know that this is a good amount of gun damage, and this does not give you that much damage for trouble, so it's definitely worth putting your points into enchantment instead. You can also go Hasty Fiends for increased movement speed and damage reduction for you and Vex, and this is actually a very valid option because of that sacrificial essence bullshit that I talked about from earlier, because you can't dash, so having the move speed is really, really nice. And it also does give the move speed to trouble. It also gives you damage reduction, so helps with that survivability, which is nice. But I threw all of my points into the damage because we are severely, severely lacking damage in this build. All right, next 2 points I throw into Grave Command. You don't really need more points into this. And then I throw 2 points into Grave Sustenance. So this is definitely more than enough to keep your action skill up pretty much permanently, just from proccing kill skills on shooting a boss or from killing enemies. I have 2 for my class mod. I don't think you need more than 3, but having more obviously is better, so that is nice. And then I also want to throw 1 point into Overprotective. Just having 1 point in here is really nice because we are proccing so many kill skills. It gives us a decent amount of overshield, not only for us, but for Trouble, which is the more important one. It helps him stay alive in those times of need. So that is really, really nice. Now, because this is a kill skill build, Morning is really important. It increases your kill skill effectiveness by 30%. That's a lot of percent. And most of our damage is going to be coming from one kill skill in particular. Finally, let's talk about it. Grave Current. Okay. I got a class mod that got 5 points into this. And when I looked up what it did, I did the math in my head and I thought that that is fucking insane. So this is a kill skill and it gives your minions, i.e. Trouble, bonus shock damage. It stacks up to 3 times. But with our Grave Power here, we get this to stack 6 times. And with 5 points in it, it gives you 40% bonus shock damage per stack. But because we have 5 points from our class mod, 10 points in it gives it 80% bonus shock damage per stack. Which means at max stacks, this gives you 480% bonus shock damage on Trouble. That is insane. And then if you take into account Morning, which increases our kill skills by 30%, this actually goes up to 624% damage on Trouble, fully stacked. So we want to keep this stacked at all times because this is where a lot of our Trouble damage is coming from. Now, something that I don't know for a fact, because as we can move on to Keen Fiends here, minion damage gets critical hit chance against any part of enemies. I don't know for a fact if this skill chance from Keen Mind also procs on Trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, and I'm pretty sure that it does, but I don't want to say that without fully knowing. But I'm pretty sure that this does give crit chance to Trouble because he is a skill. He is an action skill, which counts as a skill damage. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. So if anyone does know or knows how exactly I could test for that, I would love to hear that in the comments. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so yeah, we're going 5 points into Keen Fiends. This just means that Trouble can proc crits, which means that Trouble has a chance to keep activate kill skills, and Trouble can keep his own kill skills up quite a bit more effectively. This is all really, really nice. The next skill we're going, Sacrificial Essence. Now, listen, I did do builds. I tried to avoid building this. I thought maybe 620% gun shock damage on Trouble was enough to make Trouble really strong. I was fucking wrong. I was wrong. It's not enough. You need more. You need everything you can get. And this gives you 75% bonus damage at 10 stacks plus another 3, which is, what is that, 22.5? So close to 100% bonus damage from one skill. So you kind of have to go it. But it does make you squishier, you take more damage, and you don't get to dodge or dash. Really, it's a dash. They call it a dodge. You don't get to dash. You don't get movement in your fights, which is cripplingly depressing. It's fucking miserable, I will say. When you, you're legitimately walking a virtual cat around the battlefield because you can't do anything else. It feels like you're moving at a snail's pace. Sorry, I'll stop bitching about it. All right, then we're going to go 1 point in a tail whip. Now, you'll be like, oh, this is on a cooldown and it's flat damage. We don't like flat damage or things on a cooldown that you can't, like, reduce, right? You're right. But it is 1 point, and what this does give is AoE for Trouble. So now if there are multiple enemies in front of Trouble, he can hit them all in one hit, and he does do good damage when mobbing. So this does make the mobbing with Trouble quite a bit nicer. Yes, so this is very nice. And then we're going to go 2 points into Reawakening. This skill sucks, and it sucks because it's on a cooldown, right? It's just not good, but we need something to get our action skill back up because that gives us our damage with enchantment. And when we don't have this up, our damage with our guns is like noticeably significantly lower, probably because we don't have anything proccing skill damage, so we don't have anything proccing the Keen Mind crits, and we don't have a lot of gun damage or gun crit chance with target prescience. So this is really good for having something that can crit so that we can proc bloodletters with it. Anyway, it's not great, but we need our action skill up to make this build work. So I do throw 2 points in there. And then I throw 1 point into Grave Thirst. It's a kill skill that gives us lifesteal. It gives it to Trouble as well, so that's very nice. Gives you and Trouble a lot more survivability, which is really nice. So now I'll talk about a little bit more about what I tested, okay? So I did test throwing some points into Infusion. Now why? The reason why is because I wanted to try Unsealed. So as you can see, this is a kill skill ability. However, you can't proc this like you can with other kill skills and Mortal Terror. So when you're critting, it doesn't proc this. The only way to proc it is to properly proc it, which means you have to kill a marked enemy. Now this means that this is useless for bossing, which pretty much rules it out immediately. But in the case where you could proc this with Mortal Terror via critting, as a normal kill skill, this would actually be really good because its max stacks would increase, giving you 90% bonus damage dealt, as well as the 50% gun damage. I tried using Infusion, and Infusion didn't feel that good for me. It is bonus damage, and it is skill damage, so it does proc with your Keen Mind crits. However, it just didn't feel that good. I don't know. It is damage that you can apply conditionally, so this is 37.5%, and this would be 40% at max rank. And you just apply it when you use a rep kit, and it's for you and Trouble as well, so that is very nice. But it didn't feel that strong, and definitely not as strong as Sacrificial Essence. Again, I tried going this instead because I really did not want to use this skill, just because of the dodging thing. Yeah, this is miserable to use, but Infusion just wasn't enough damage. I couldn't make it work, especially when bossing. Trouble's damage was just pretty much halved when I committed to this tree instead of coming to the middle tree instead. So yeah, the capstone we will be using is Double Trouble, specifically so we can get Keen Fiends, and Sacrificial Essence fully stacked out, as well as getting some action skill cooldown. This we definitely need. We need it somewhere, so this is the one that we're going. This was definitely the most damage that I found using Trouble. And with it, we are going Beast Mode. Now, I did look at all of the other augments here. However, if I don't have this augment, Trouble gets one shot. And this is in true UVH 6. This is also in normal UVH 6. It does not matter. Trouble will get one shot unless he's immune to damage. There's no way to do it. Now, maybe you could invest more points into Hasty Fiends and invest more points into Overprotective. Get more survivability, right? But that just requires you to invest so many points into defense that you can't get enough damage. And frankly, this gives you an attack speed multiplier, which means Trouble is hitting faster. He also gets more movement speed, which is nice for traveling around the battlefield and doing whatever shenanigans Trouble does. But the attack speed multiplier means that Trouble has more chances to crit. He's critting more often. So that means he's keeping his kill skills up more often, which is very, very nice. Now, I did look at Vorpal Fang because it gives you more crit hit chance, which is nice, and also better ranged attack, which is very, very nice for Trouble. However, Trouble will die. Like, unfortunately, everyone loves to just fucking run down the cat. They see the cat, they want to hit the cat. So a bonus of that is you're not getting targeted very often. But a downside of that is Trouble gets one shot. So in order to combat that, we have to go Beast Mode. And as I said before, this is the augment that I would love to see CC immunity thrown onto. I think Trouble should be able to be CC immune with at least one of his augments at some point. Now, I'm not saying he needs to be CC immune at all times. I think it should be like a skill thing, like maybe just for a set duration. So there's some skill expression involved. But he should be able to be CC immune so that he can deal with those bosses that have CC and not be completely useless when fighting them. So Bloomreaper can't knock him away, and he can still be dealing damage regardless of a boss's CC. Okay, I think that's it for the skills. Now we'll talk about gear. We'll go for gear first, and we're going to go right for the class mod. All right, this is the class mod that I got. It's a Kindred Spirits. Now, I got mine with 5 points into our lovely skill, Grave Current, over here. I think this... No, I don't think. This is the most damage on this class mod. It's probably one of the most damaged skills in this entire tree. Ignoring Sacrificial Essence, which is obviously very strong, just comes with a fucking crazy sacrifice. So Grave Current's really, really strong. Getting 5 points in a Grave Current is, at this point, it's the biggest damage boost you can get to Trouble that I know of. This is easily the most damage via kill skills, which is very, very nice. Now, this class mod does also roll points into Obedient Fiends, which I think is also a great skill. However, I think the other one, Grave Current, is more damage, and it rolls some other nice skills too. Like, it does roll this one here, Grave Sustenance and Grave Command, giving you better cooldown for your action skill, or giving you better duration for your action skill, or cooldown for your command skill and the respawn here. But this class mod also has a bonus. I got one with 53% skill damage, which I think is probably the best. But skill crit chance might also be very good. This also has a bonus that whenever you do use your command skill, you get bonus kinetic minion damage. It's 30%, and you definitely notice this. On top of your, this one, the enchantment, you definitely notice the damage, and because it is a skill, it can crit, and it can bleed. So this is very, very nice for applying bleed. And just for getting more damage for yourself overall. I do like having as much damage on Trouble as possible, but it sucks to be completely useless. And with this and enchantment, your gun damage is actually pretty good. So it doesn't feel bad to just walk around and chase Trouble while Trouble is doing everything. You are actually pretty useful with this build. Like, you do have some gun damage. Mind you, you do need your kill skills to be stacked up to really feel it, but it is good with this class mod. I think this is the only class mod you can go if you're going to go a Trouble build that's like somewhat viable. I think I said build, lol. Yeah, this is like the only class mod I think you can go at this point that's like somewhat viable. Not saying that Trouble is all that good, but this is definitely the best class mod that I found. Now, running with it, I have a triple bypass, and I have the triple bypass with caffeine. Really just so it's another way to get your action skill back as fast as possible. Like I said, this reawakening is not great with your action skill cooldown. So yeah, not my favorite. Having the now with caffeine as a backup with the triple bypass is very, very nice. And the reason why I have mine with movement speed is because Sacrificial Essence says I don't get to fucking move. So having the extra movement speed kind of helps a little bit, not really. For when you're running around and you can't dash. Yeah, because that sucks, and this makes it suck very, very, very minimally, ever so slightly, very, very little, not really less. Okay, so that's nice. All right, next we're going the Heimdall. Now you're like, why the Heimdall? And this is obviously up to personal preference. I haven't tried the Atling gun or anything really crazy. The reason why I did the Heimdall is, one, because it's auto-targeting. And two, because it's really good at long range. So this was really, really helpful for fighting aerial bosses. Things like the Oppressor. Things like the Sky Spanner Cratch. Those things you can't really hit. And you can just shoot all three of these in the air. They will auto-target. And you just want to make sure that you have your enchantment procced, so your action skill has to be active, and you want your kindred spirits procced, which means you want to use your, the augment, the command skill, before you use your Heimdall. And then this will auto-target, it'll proc extra procs of kinetic damage, and they'll bleed, and it does big damage. Like, this is actually really, really good damage, and helps your bossing damage a lot, which is very, very nice. For the shield, to no one's surprise, we're going to Watts for dinner with Siphon. Siphon just helps with the survivability. If you can get Siphon Amp, you're a fucking G. I can't. I have caved into the gambling gods. They say no to me. So I'm just rocking, yeah, this Watts for dinner. Next for my enhancement. I'm not going to lie. My enhancement isn't doing shit right now. This is really just based on whatever guns you're going to use. And we'll talk about guns in a second, but this enhancement is not the enhancement that's best for this build. This is from my melee build. If you saw my melee build, that build is fucking dope. If you haven't watched that build, you should go and check it out, because it's definitely my favorite Vex build. It's fucking awesome. And this enhancement is perfect for that build. For this build, I just didn't switch it out. I was lazy, and I didn't find anything else that was, like, better. Like, this would genuinely be better. I honestly am just going to equip this, because this is better than what I was using. And honestly, all of my footage is using the wrong one, so this would have been nice to have, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, firmware, 3 into skillcraft. The other 2, it'd probably be good to have Action Fist 2, because Action Fist 2, hold on, I can't. There we go. Action Fist 2 gives you 30% bonus action skill damage, which does apply to trouble, as well as the melee damage I think does also apply to trouble. So this would be very, very nice to have. So this build isn't min-maxed. Maybe with action skill 2, it's a broken build. Who knows? It's not. Sorry. But hey, with 2 into Action Fist, it'll be better than what I've shown you. So get out there, baby girl. All right. Next, weapons. I love the Mad Lad. If you've seen my Harlow build, the infinite ammo neutron capture Harlow build, not really mine. It's very similar to a lot of other builds out there. But if you've seen that build, I fucking love this weapon. And the reason why I'm using this weapon is because we want high fire rate. We want a lot of instances to be able to crit with. And we're critting with our, enchantment over here, and our crit chance from our skills here. We're also getting a very small amount of gun crit chance, but we're really going for the skill crit chance. That's really, really what we're going for, because we also get some skill crit chance with skillcraft. So we want to make sure that we proc our kindred spirits, and that enchantment is active over here, this one right here, by having our action skill active, and then that gives us the most chances to crit. Another gun that I found to be really good also gives you fire element, and I like having different weapons of like different elements like this. So then I have a kinetic one, a fire one, a shock one, and a corrosive one, right? The Hellwalker. And the reason why is because each shot gives you 10 instances of damage. So there's 10 chances to crit, 10 chances for all of that. So then you have more chances to proc your kill skills. It's also very fast to reload. If you manually hit the R button, or like whatever your reload is, right after you shoot, the reload is faster. So it's essentially just shoot, reload, shoot, reload. It feels very good to use. Next one, you can use a wombo combo. You can use an oh my god for shock. This one you'll never have to reload because you'll have the siphon, so that's really, really nice. Really, it's just use whatever you want. That kind of gives you the element that you want. So if you want fire, make sure you have a fire weapon. But in general, you want it to have high fire rate for high instances of damage to proc your kill skills. Or multiple pellets like this. Like something like the Broken Wings might be really strong because it's a lot of hits all on once and it's a high fire rate weapon. So that would be something that would be fun to try as well. Okay, wow, this has been long and a lot of rambling, and I'm so sorry, but we're moving on finally to specializations. I have now with caffeine for that backup for keeping my action skill, getting my action skill back, as I said earlier. A hone mine, this is actually skill crit damage and skill crit chance. So this, it's not action skills, this is a typo. So this does proc on our enchantment and all of our other skill things. So that's very, very nice. We don't have a lot of gun damage, so speccing into things like I am a gun is kind of useless because we legit have no gun damage in our build. Contamination just means that when we are critting, we pretty much get a guarantee of our blood letter over here. Because this is affected by status effect application chance, having, what is it called, contamination just means that it will be 100% when it's stacked up. And then we're going Groundbreaker. Groundbreaker is just really good. It's good to add to good builds, and it helps save the shit ones. You know, it's just a lot of burst damage. It helps amplify the damage you already have. So it's kind of a must for making shit builds like this one work. And anyway, that is everything. That is the build. Now, finally, I did test this build just with the exact same build. All I did was switch out the action skill to Eldritch Blast, and I used a fucking bod with torque stickies, and whoop-de-fucking-doop-de, shocker, it bosses a lot better. So if you do run this build, just switch it over to Eldritch Blast for the bosses you have trouble with. It's a lot easier. Now, I know this build isn't exactly a true UVH 6 buster. It's not at all, actually. I did test it in true UVH 6, and some bosses are, like, doable playing it. I wouldn't say it's, like, enjoyable. I would say playing at UVH 6, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I thought there would be more hitches and more finicky things about trouble, but there were fewer than I thought, and the damage was surprisingly okay. Now, mind you, this is me using sacrificial essence, so it's me sacrificing my ability to fucking dodge. But doing that, it was fine. You know, walking around a drill site, following trouble, shooting things, mobbing actually feels pretty good, I would even say, with this build. But when it came to bossing, sticking with trouble, it was definitely a little more challenging, but definitely doable in UVH 6. But certain bosses in UVH 6 is just a no-go with trouble. You just can't. Like, Bloomreaper is basically impossible on UVH 6 with trouble. It's just not possible at all, which really, really sucks. And yeah, I do hope that they buff trouble. If anyone from Gearbox is somehow watching this video, the things at the beginning of the video that I said of how to improve trouble, I really think you should take them seriously, because trouble does need a big buff. Like I said, if nothing else, just double his damage. You don't need to, you know, fix the sacrificial essence thing and get rid of the dodge. You don't need to do that. You don't need to make him CC immune. You don't have to add a targeting feature so that you can pick who trouble is hitting, honestly, if you just double the damage. Like, double his damage, and that'll make it a lot more enjoyable to play. It'll make it a lot more viable to play as well. And then also, if you do anything else, I would add a targeter. Like, having no control of trouble, you legitimately feel like you're walking a dog off leash. There is nothing you can do if trouble wants to hit that one creep in the corner instead of the boss that's fucking your asshole currently. You know, like, I don't know. There's nothing you can do. And that feels really shitty. But this is the best trouble build I can come up with. This is the most damage. This is the best one I could find. So let me know in the comments if you can think of any ways to make this shit better. Please, I would love to hear your input. If any changes do come up and trouble is buffed in any way, I will be following up. If a level cap increase comes, I will be following up. I want trouble to be good. I want to make it work. I like finding the stuff that's shit in this game and making it really strong. That to me is very fun. So that's a big part of why I make these videos. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked the video, I would appreciate it if you gave the video a like, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Thanks. Peace.